What are the principles that people have actually utilized to regain freedom? And it's not voting harder. It's not giving power to a government that hates you and is trying to destroy you.
The Kate Dalley Show starts now.
The reason that all your computer screens are blue lit, the reason none of them are red lit, the reason none of them pay attention to circadian biology is because that original technology was developed in a government program that Bobby Kennedy knows about, and I happen to know about because I went to medical school at LSU. For those of you who've never heard about Operation Paperclip, you think it's all conspiracy theory. So at two-lane neurology and two-lane neurosurgery in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, the CIA started a program there where they would do all these crazy things to monkeys. The CIA wanted to see how they could control things utilizing different things like drugs and things like that. Where the neurosurgeons got involved, which is my clade, we would drill tops of the heads off, put wires into the thalamus, put electricity in there, and kind of see what kind of behavioral changes we could have. One of the guys that was in that program was a guy named Professor Delgado. When he saw that we could control the behavior with the wired device, he said, what if we do it wirelessly? So he checked it in monkeys and checked it in bulls, and it turned out you can do it wirelessly with RFID chips and semiconductors. Then the CIA took it to the next level. They said, well, since this is electromagnetic radiation, what if we did it through light through screens? And it turns out you can. And that's the reason why all your computer screens have the frequencies they have. So why is this all important? Well, the person that set this meeting up between me and Bobby is the patent attorney that made sure that Google and Meta have those things so they can control the things that we all do. Where did the original idea come from that started off in MK Ultra with the CIA? You're going to be surprised when you hear this. It came from the mafia in Las Vegas. They wanted to build a new city in a desert. They enclosed it all, blacked out the windows, invented slot machines that were blue lit, and they found out that they didn't have to take a gun, stick it in your face to steal your money. Then they even got smart. They said, let's give people free alcohol while they're doing that. And they found out they got the money quicker. And that's when the CIA got the idea to start this program. That's really how it started.
I'm going to post that as a separate clip, okay? Because I want you to listen to that several times. There's some nuggets of truth in there that I really want you to focus on. And of course, wow, there's lots of experiments that have been done on us. And I think the biggest is the overall government one in general, but we're going to talk about that with my next guest. And I do appreciate Dr. Duke Pesta because we come at this from different angles and we're able to have some fun debates on the air about how we feel about things. And I'm always so grateful for that. Ben McClintock, are you with me?
Hey, so good to be with you.
Oh, I'm so glad you're on. Okay. So let me just say the book is called Invasion. Okay. How the conspiracy has infiltrated your community. And it really hones in on really what's the most powerful form of government and the one that affects us the most is going to be your local community all over America right now. And with 3,000 plus counties, it's what your local government is doing to you is what I worry about the most, because that's what affects you. Think about 2020 when they wanted to just take everybody's liberty and think about all kinds of things through history. Same thing. It was local government that was able to use that mechanism. So I'm going to take callers while Ben is on with me, 888-673-1450 if you want to chime in. But I think we're going to dial this down to a really healthy conversation. And I want Ben, we've known each other a long time. You've been coming on my show a long time. And so I was having a conversation with Dr. Duke Pesta, and I was saying that he was saying to me, I'll start there. He was saying to me that we need some hope. We need some hope. You can't level in everyone's hope. And that hope is like, look, we finally got our guy in on the right. So therefore, give us those morsels of hope. Here is my biggest problem with that, and it's not as if I find any joy in how I feel as far as raining on everyone's parade. Here's my point. We have been brainwashed and conditioned to expect the answer to come from D.C. Doesn't matter what the answer is, it's got to come from D.C. And then the media which, by the way, they're not protecting us from reality as the liner came in, but they're actually screwing us over every day with a lot of lies, okay? So here's my point. I told Pesta, I said, look, the needle seems to move when the left has the ball, and then when the right has the ball, or what we think is the right, it never moves. There's just a lot of excuses, and they don't ever push the ball the other way. So for 100 years, it's only been going one way. Now, what's crazy is this thought, and this is where I want you to comment, and I want people to kind of really focus on what I'm about to say. Right now, we give this allowance. Well, the deep state's after him. Well, the leftists won't let him. Well, Congress can't do anything. They can't cut out the UN. They can't really cut out the Department of Education. They can't really do all of this because of who's after them. Okay? Has anyone out there, raise your hand, even if you're in your car, has anyone had that thought? Well, he can only do what he can do. They can't get a lot done because XYZ, because of the deep state. If that's the case, and you've had that thought, then why do you keep expecting all your hope of repossessing your liberty to come from Washington? Because the thought is that we constantly give these allowances and the excuses, and we're constantly in this, well, they won't let him. Well, he can't do it. Well, Congress can't do anything. Well, we can't do what's right, so we just have to expect the morsels. We just have to love the morsels and have hope in the morsels. Do you think we've been conditioned? What are your thoughts on that statement, Ben McClintock?
Yeah, well, 100%. And as much as I love Duke Pesta and the work that he's doing, I take a little bit of a different approach to this, because if we have this false hope and a solution that doesn't work, that's what's been going on for the past, like you said, 100 years, where we're like, if we just vote harder, right, we'll get our guy in there and then things will be fixed. And then people realize, oh, they didn't get fixed. Mm-hmm. And then they give up, and then things are allowed to get even worse because they gave up because they were led to a false hope as opposed to understanding the situation. So then they could take action that was actually effective instead of following the pattern. And that's really what I cover in Invasion, Exposing the Hidden Agenda, Unveiling the Path to Freedom, is that exact point, is helping people to understand how did we get here, and then what are the principles that people have actually utilized to regain freedom. And it's not voting harder. It's not giving power to a government that hates you and is trying to destroy you. It is in principles that were followed by ancient Israel, principles that were followed by the Pilgrims, principles followed by the Founding Fathers. So then we know what the real solution is, not these solutions that have been fed to us for the past 100 years that actually have not done nothing but feed the beast.
Okay. Let's take a quick call. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, caller. I was trying. Okay. This is the hard part. See, it's kind of the don't shoot the messenger thing. And I've been dealing with this for a long time. So have you. Yeah. We're trying to point out what DC is and what the mechanism of government is. And what they try to do is make us love the characters in the play. So we love them, we hate them. We love them, we hate them. And it never is about what's actually going on or the reality. And I think this is a really good hour for people to listen to, because this will give you a different take. And if you don't like the take, it's okay. I had an email from Jennifer with lots of R's who was very mad at me. She was very angry with me because I won't say everything is just rainbows and lollipops right now. And I'm noticing this rumbling, and I'm noticing all these things that are going on and the agendas. And a year and a half ago, I said they're going to put Trump in. And I don't want to keep having the same conversation over and over on the air. But what I'm trying to get to is how we think of government, just like that Tulane experiment with the blue lights and the mafia and getting us to do certain things. Okay. This has been a brainwashing mechanism, and the only way out of it is to see the actual brainwashing. So if you were to dial down the brainwashing in your view, and not everyone out there has to agree, it's okay, we won't fall apart. What is your view of the actual brainwashing mechanism to get us where we are right now looking at DC? Because a lot of people, their heroes are in DC right now. What they think of as their heroes. So what's the brainwashing mechanism?
Well, we have, it's always multi-pronged, but you have, of course, the 24-hour, the news, the quote-unquote news that tells you to focus on Washington. And then we have the government indoctrination camps, called government schools, that teach you as a child to not learn about the Constitution, to not learn about the separation of powers, and what kind of government do we have, and what does that actually mean? But we're told that we have this, it's too difficult. We have lawyers to understand that for you, so you don't want to even think about it because you think it's too hard. And so you have this mixture of the media, conglomerate that we have telling us to focus on this thing as the solution to our problems. And then we have being raised growing up thinking it's too hard to figure out on our own. And so we just, follow this WWF professional wrestling where these guys pretend to be enemies on the stage when behind the scenes they're all going out to eat. There was an article, and I cover this organization, the secret society that hardly anybody talks about in my book, Invasion, called the Alfalfa Club. And a so-called right-wing, talk radio host from back east went to this secret society, their luncheon or their meeting this January, and he talked about how. And he kind of bragged about how the idea is that we pretend to fight each other in public, but then we get to come to this Alfalfa Club and we get to this is in Washington, D.C., and then we all, even though we're Democrats and Republicans and have these different public views, we get to come behind the scenes and come together. And this is how America should be, where we all come together to do, quote unquote, the right thing, where we all get to build the New World Order together. And we stop being divided by our ideologies, by principles. And so that's really what's going on, is they pretend to be friends and in the public while they're actually working behind the scenes. As you said, somehow the Republicans aren't able to get things done, but the Democrats are.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Well, it doesn't make any sense because why can't we get stuff done if they can? It doesn't. Right. So people don't want to ask that, though. They just want to say, well, it's because, the New World Order is backing the leftists. But we have a lot of stuff happen when our right's in as well. That if you're gonna be a thinker and an analytical thinker at that, then you have to separate yourself from the trains and look at everything, like you said, behind the scenes, what's happening at the dinner table when they all do dinner together. Remember the stage a couple of months ago, the stage full of all of our technocrats and all these people that work for intelligence that were on the stage. There's a reason they were on the stage. We're going to come right back. A lot more bold statements coming, and you don't have to agree, but we'll be right back. Kate Dalley Show.
This is the Kate Dalley Show.
But I welcome you back. I've got Ben McClintock, who I just adore. I love Ben because he's willing to tell the truth, and there's a heavy cost to be paid when you do, and I really appreciate this about him. Now, you might say, but I disagree with you, Kate, so I don't think you're talking truth. Okay, that's fine. I'm just glad you're listening because it just means that you want to think about things, and I'm okay if you don't agree. I really am. I'm okay as long as you hear us out. Hear me out, whatever. But look, I know that on regular radio, okay, and I'm on regular radio, the conversation that they don't want you to have is that the whole thing is theater. Presidents are installed for certain reasons because of certain things coming, and they move us to the right and they move us to the left, okay? And that we're sitting here in the beginning of April. And first week, what is it, the 7th today? Okay. And we're sitting here and we're still wanting to be on a train or in a tribe or in a groupthink. And all I'm saying is get out of that because it's not making sense. When we say that government on the left can move the needle, but government on the right can't move it back, and that the goalpost only goes lengthened one way, okay? We really mean that. We got to get out of the tribe think. We got to get out of that and stop. When people say to me, I want some hope, though. Where's my hope? It's in you. You're powerful. You're the answer. Look at the founders. Did they ever one time go, Well, gee, Thomas, I know. How are you over there? And Adams, what's going on with you? I know. I just wish that we had a little hope in the Royals. I wish that we could restore a little tiny glimmer of hope, because I really need to have some hope that the Royals are going to do the right thing for us. They never had that conversation. They only talked about what they as persons, as people, were going to do about it. Not that they just had to find a morsel of hope in what the royals were doing and what the kings were doing. What are your thoughts?
Oh, 100%. And James Madison in Federalist 46 was very clear.
Yeah.
And so the Federalist Papers were to sell the people on the Constitution. You had the anti-Federalists like Patrick Henry, another great guy, but just disagreed on the Constitution. He was saying that, we let government get out of control, this is going to be a problem. And James Madison in Federalist 46 is like, hey, don't, we, the people are, have a solution. They have a powerful weapons to make sure that doesn't happen. And he says the disquietude of the people's repugnance, and the refusal to cooperate with the officers of the Union. So he said in his solution in 46 was not, hey, we need to make sure we get the Whigs elected, and that'll make sure we never become a tyranny.
Yeah.
He said, no. The people themselves have to be responsible for their liberty, and that is by them making sure that they are causing a stink when problems happen, that they do not obey illegal and unconstitutional actions, and that they refuse to cooperate with those that are trying to implement those things. That is people-oriented solutions, not government, not party-oriented solutions.
Yes.
And that's what the Founding Fathers did, and that's what they stood for and said what our solutions are.
Right.
And we've gone away from that.
They've never, ever said, just wait till we get a better king. Wait, we'll be golden. And
maybe if we sue, if we take Parliament to court, maybe they'll obey the Constitution.
And we won't get everything we want, but we'll get the morsels, and we'll be happy with that, because at least we got something, because look what we're up against. I mean, they didn't do that. Otherwise, we would have not had a revolution. So when they
weren't afraid of being mean to the king.
Yes.
We might offend him.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? He's attacking us.
Right.
And the same thing we have now is a government that is our enemy and that hurts us and hates us.
Right.
And we must not be afraid to say so.
You can like the king, and it's okay to like the king. Like the king. Sure. I could care less. But as long as you're saying, but my hope is still in the people, my hope is still in individuals, just like the founders, coming forward to change things, just like the black bird watchers that were invited to a Utah Enviro party, and you don't have to pay, but the whites do. The people called and got that removed. So it's the action of the people. The government wasn't stepping in to do anything about this little grotesque group in Utah. It was the people to actually calling them out on the carpet and saying, "What are you doing?" We'll come right back. More with Ben McClintock. And you can like the king. If you want to like the king, it's okay. I don't mind the king. It's just deeper than that. Be right back. Kate Dalley. I've got a caller for you. Ben McClintock is on with me. The book is Invasion. And, okay, please, caller, go ahead. You're on.
Okay, thanks, Kate.
Sure.
Hey, I am from Idaho.
Uh-huh.
I love my cozy sheets.
Love it.
I love your radio show, and I love Ben McClintock.
Oh, my gosh, I love it.
But I just want to make a clarification with you guys. And you can say, whatever you think.
Okay.
But sometimes, Ben said the statement, the government hates you. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe the government hates me.
Okay.
I believe that our government is good, but I believe that the governing hates me.
I think that,
And I am the governed. And I think it would be beneficial if more people would refer to it that way.
Oh, yeah.
The government, the governing, and the governed.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Thank you for your call. I love your call.
And so I will just say that over in my lifetime, I have been able to join with the governing who have helped me to change, to create one, and to change a law in my state, and which makes me thrilled.
Oh,
and we as a people, we can do that if we take the right steps.
Thanks. Love your call. Thank you so much. I love it. No, that's great.
That's a good, important distinction. I appreciate it.
It really is, because we have a wonderful God-given Constitution if we would stick with it. And it's the people that have gone into office and parked their butts there for 150 years, it feels like. These dinosaurs and all of these just heretics that have gone in and wanted to dismantle it and give us a bunch of excuses. So I love the clarification, too. I just think that sometimes all the things that we say, when they don't make sense, we need to be able to have the analytical skills to say, wait a second, did I think of that wrong? Am I, when we accept the scraps and the morsels and we say, well, that's all you can get. Mm-hmm. Why is that all you can get? Why are we in a frame of mind of, well, I mean, they tried and I guess we'll just have to compromise again. Why is that? That's the problem. So let me take another call, and then I want you to talk about that, Ben McClintock. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, caller.
Greetings. I would give a different perspective. I would say that we are the governed only without our consent, and we're supposed to be in a self-governing republic. Therefore, we would be the governance. We would be the ones in charge of the people that we place in these agencies, Congress, so forth. The problem is that they're not listening to us because we don't have a voice, and they're running roughshod over this country, and that's the problem.
Okay, all right, I like it. Yeah, I like it. Thank you. Great call. I'm just loving all your calls today. I think they're fantastic. Look, I want people to look at the Epstein files and the JFK files. Did we get those? Are we? What has actually been done is my point. What are you banking on to give you the hopium that your hope should be in government? What have they delivered to you, that has given you this idea that your hope has to reside there? And I promise you, when you're listening to us on the radio, you realize that this is the unpopular stance, and that my career on the radio is censored quite heavily in America because I say that. So think about that. If they wanted you to be able to think about things and have those messages, why am I censored? Okay? So really looking at the whole big picture here and trying to bring a different perspective, and this is why I'm not on every radio station in the country like some of the hosts, is because I will go there, the place you're not supposed to go. And why is there a place you're not supposed to go on the radio? So Ben, thoughts?
Well, the idea of us, the consent of the governed, that they're not governing under our consent, is 100% true for a couple of reasons. You've talked about this a ton of the election issues. Mm-hmm. So clearly they're not, the consent of the governed there. And then we also have our consent is found in the Constitution. And so if the government goes beyond those limited, delegated ability, their authority in those just limited areas, that means they're acting outside of their consent. That's what we consented to. That's what they swore before God to do. And when they go beyond that, they are not governing according to the consent of the governed. It's undeniable.
Thank you. And your book, Invasion, goes to where you can actually do something in your local community. It's actually going to make a difference. And what's crazy is I see the bills that spread, right? And you get a bill, and it's really bad, and it was written by a think tank, and they spread it over 20 states, and they do it all at the same time in those 20 states, and no one really pokes their head up and says, gee, is this happening all over, Bob? Yeah, I guess no one says that. And they get these states to absorb these huge bad think tank bills, okay? And it's usually paraded around like somebody in your state wants this bill and is behind it, but they didn't write it, okay? They're not really behind it. So I look at this and then I say to myself, okay, in the communities, are we doing this, moving the needle the other way by having things happen in communities all over the place and letting that move forward? What are we actually doing in our communities to get these bad actors out of elected office, these people that want to just ruin your state's constitution and your level of liberty. And it can be the sheriff, it can be your local county commissioners, it can be your local mayors, your local community. Those people are probably not working in your behalf. And the reason I say that is look across America right now as proof of the reality and see where we're at in communities. You have a lot of woke individuals doing a lot of gender crap and a lot of different things in your community as far as Agenda 2030, and which is really 2040 now as well. They're doing all of these things and they're not stopping it. There's nobody stopping it or reducing the level of government, right?
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, I mean, There's nobody that is actually moving the needle in the other direction.
Yeah, I've never seen a budget go down. Have you? He laughs. Okay, we're going to go to break. Come right back. And of course, Ben will be joining me on the show more. But we've got to have these conversations as a reality or I'm going to go nuts. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show, KateDalleyRadio.com. Welcome back. I've got Ben McClintock. And look, it's okay if you listen to talk radio and you don't love what they say, as long as it makes you think, right? And let's just say that in today's era of radio and of media, we have to be open to ideas that are not cemented by mainstream. And when I say mainstream, I also mean alternative mainstream. Alternative mainstream is a huge problem, and we're not seeing it, and that's on the right. And you have a lot of talk show hosts out there that all agree on certain talking points, and that's what you're delivered. And it's not okay that we have that. And I try to shine a hole through that because there's a huge problem with it. I have Ben McClintock on with me. The book is Invasion, How the Conspiracy has Infiltrated Your Community, like how it has actually done that. All right, Ben, what can people do in their community? Give us a takeaway.
Yeah, well, the first thing is the Old Testament prophet Hosea says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." And so we don't know what we don't know. And so at the Tree of Liberty Society, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build understanding of the principles that have built free nations, expose the satanic conspiracy, and most people don't want to call it that, and then build an effective resistance to that conspiracy. And so we need to make sure that we are, like you said, learning what what don't I know that I don't know. And so that is the beginning point of anything is learning wisdom and understanding these principles so that we can see when they're being violated. And going back and starting that education on, and so we've provided tons of tools at the Tree of Liberty Society, and where you can go through and see what the founding fathers said in bite-sized little pieces that can help, as you start to gain that. And in our local communities, we need to join together with others of like mind to be able to resist that. As I mentioned earlier in Federalist 46, the idea of how do we make sure that a federal government doesn't get out of control is we need to make sure that we are not relenting until the people that are trying to destroy our liberties back off. And so it's really important that we are going beyond just, writing a sternly written letter or writing a really mean tweet, but that we're organizing together in our local communities to be able to have that, resistance until the tyrants retreat. But it really starts off with that overcoming what Hosea said is our lack of knowledge. And I'm learning all of the time what I don't know. And so and then I change course, right? If we learn something and we don't act on that new knowledge, what good did it do us? Yeah. We have to start acting on the new things that we learn because our actions should change when we increase our understanding. And so a lot of times we think, I already get that. I took a course on the Constitution, but it's amazing how much, that we still don't know and we still need to grasp. And some of those courses are actually designed to get us to focus on DC when our focus should be on helping our local communities to be able to resist that tyranny. You mentioned earlier about how Agenda 2030 is being implemented in all of our communities. Yeah. We had a caller from Idaho. It's amazing. A town like Rexburg has Agenda 2030 in it. How is that happening? You have small towns across the country that are having this implemented. Why? How? And so in my book, Invasion, available at treeoflibertysociety.com or Barnes & Noble. And it explains the history to show you how we got here. So that way you can start to identify it. And then it shows the proven solutions on how to start to return back. Because if we don't know how we got here, right, you're all of a sudden you wake up and you're stuck in the wilderness and you're like, how did I get here? If you don't know where you were, you're not going to be able to know how to get back. And so it provides those tools and then shows you how that we can start doing it. So not complying with evil and making sure that we are being loud in our opposition to evil. Those are the types of things that James Madison in the Federalist Papers said that we all need to start doing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm really with you on this. I love that. And I love that you put this book together because I've noticed something in talk radio. Not to bemoan talk radio again, but it's just, it's really interesting how the AP News is the biggest thing they'll talk about, okay? And the second thing is they never talk about what needs to change in local communities, what needs to happen. It's always national, and they've done that for a reason. I've said this on the show many times. They've done that for a reason, and that is to think that everything comes from the feds and that it trickles down and that you can't control your local community. You can't do anything about it. It's a defeatist thing, and they've been selling it to us on the right. Think about Rush. Rush consistently talked about what the feds were doing. Did he ever talk? And I like Rush. It's not about liking again, okay? Not about liking. It's about what did he tell us? Did he shore us up and tell us what to do about our local communities? No. He brought the whole attention, and he did so he said many right things about the right-left paradigm, but he didn't really draw your attention to the fact that the right-left paradigm never ends and that it's always that it controls that brainwashing mechanism and that you do have control in your local community to get out these horrible people that ran for office and are in forever, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's not about giving up. You don't wake up and give up, right? There's this idea of the black pill where you have the red and blue pill like from the Matrix, and then there's this black pill. Yeah. And where you just give up, and that's just as wrong as taking the blue pill. Right. That you have to wake up. That show was written by two transgender twins. I just want to throw that out there. I like it because it drew people's attention to red pill, black pill, blue pill. But we just really need to get out from under the brainwashing because we're still looking at. But I like RFK. Like him. It's okay. It doesn't mean anything. Okay. I like walruses. Okay. It doesn't mean anything. We have to just go, but I choose for my family what goes in their mouths and I do the homework. That has nothing to do with RFK. Right. So I'm not trying to say RFK is bad or good. I'm trying to say it has nothing to do with him. In today's show, we talked about it earlier, and Maha, because the government's at the helm no matter who's in that spot. So just make the decisions for your family, then you're good. Right? Well, and that's something that helped me to kind of wake up, right? Right. And I hate that term waking up because I feel like we always need to wake up. Don't think we already woke up. Right. Is that, I hear the music, but the idea of George Bush and the Patriot Act. Right. We need to, I was like, well, I don't want Clinton coming back in and doing it, so I can't allow Bush to do it. Right. We just need to get a clear head on our shoulders. Thank you so much, Ben McClintock. The book is Invasion. Be faithful, be fearless. KateDalleyRadio.com. Back tomorrow.